So here we are at day 2 of our company retreat. Isn't that what we call it? And Logan can't see all of our snacks back there, so that should keep us all well nourished for the duration. And I think I'm going to have to pick the pace up here a little bit. So it looks like everybody has made some name suggestions. Is that right? Have all of you suggested some names? So they're on a discussion page. So guess what's the next thing to do on campus? Go to that discussion page on your own outside of class. Look at the names. Talk about them. Present your case for why you like one better than the others, or why you don't like one, just like we did with the snack thing. And then after everybody has their say, we'll probably vote on a name for our organization tomorrow. Does that sound okay with everyone? And everybody has goals up there. It looks like everybody's got goals up there. And purpose statements. Everybody's put up a purpose statement. So we will probably sometime tomorrow talk about a purpose statement for our organization. And let's see. What do I have here today? I gave you a leadership style handout yesterday with those 4 kinds of leadership. Well, I've got another handout here for you on leadership from Mr. Rush. And what does he say about leadership on page 218 in Rush's book, Management of Biblical Approach? What's the first thing we have an arrow by? Some very important leadership principles are suggested here. What's the first one?
You should not exploit those who work under you.
Do not exploit the people who work under you. What does that mean, to exploit somebody?
Underpay them or do stuff to take advantage of them.
Underpay them or take advantage of them? When people have a real servant's heart and a willingness to work and a desire to please their employer, is it easy for the leader to take advantage of those people? Because they're so committed. Well, don't do it. In fact, what does the Bible say to everyone who's in a position of leadership, position of authority? As you exercise authority over others, remember, you have an authority over you. Which brings us, what is the golden rule? Where have you taught the golden rule from the Bible? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. One time I had a person in class say, that's not in the Bible. Is that in the Bible? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Is it? You don't know? It is, isn't it, Esther? These guys don't seem to know it, or they're not sure about it, or
I didn't know the reference.
I don't know whether, okay, I don't know the reference either, but it's like, so it's there, so what do you think about it? Treat other people the way you want to be treated? Boy, that would make for a, you know what? I'm thinking if we did that in this world, there'd be a whole lot of people that we wouldn't need a police force. Would we? If everybody actually practiced that? What a wonderful world it would be if everybody would practice that. Okay, I didn't get saved till I was 18. I grew up in a home where my dad taught me the golden rule, and it wasn't the same as the Bible. My dad's golden rule was, he who has the gold makes the rules. Any of you ever hear that? That's not in the Bible. And when I got saved and came to school and found it out, I thought, whoa, my dad taught me the wrong golden rule. And employers, leaders need to realize that they have someone over them and they should treat the people under them the way they want, excuse me, the way they want their heavenly leader to treat them. What's the second important leadership principle that Rush gives here on page 218?
The leader should always look for ways to serve those under him.
I'm not just waiting till the people under me come and ask for something. I'm looking for ways to serve people under me. One years ago when I was the academic dean, and I had all these people under me over in the administration building, I was at the grocery store buying groceries at Christmas time, and here was a huge big old box of delicious apples that they were selling a crate of at a real good price. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be cool if everybody, when they came in the morning, found an apple sitting on their desk? So I just bought a whole case of apples, and I put them in the car. My wife goes, what are you going to do with those? And I'm going, well, when I was in shopping, I just thought, wouldn't it be fun? These things are on sale, and they look good. Wouldn't it be fun if everybody who's under my umbrella of supervision at school, when they came in the morning, found an apple sitting on their desk? The tooth fairy brought it. No, the apple fairy brought it. No, and just put it there and not say anything about it. And when people came in and saw it, I mean, what's the first thing they ask when they come in and see it? Who put this apple on my desk? I mean, isn't that what you normally wonder? And everybody, I didn't. And they're all talking about who did that. Because I thought, just do it for them. I don't have to let them know I did it. And then finally somebody said, Dr. Bonine did that. Oh, isn't that nice of him to think about us? And then somebody said, did you buy all these apples for us? I said, I was at the store grocery shopping, and they had these big cases of apples on sale, and I thought, that's a good price, but I can't eat them all. And then I thought, hey, wait a minute. Maybe all the people who work for me would like to have an apple. And just, see, it's just you convey to people, I was thinking about you, and a way to serve you. What's another thing leaders should do, Todd?
The leader should serve willingly and eagerly.
Yes, I'm eager to serve and I'm willing to serve. Which means, by the way, that's why I give out my phone number and my email address, and I tell students you can call me anytime that you're working on something and have a question. What if somebody called me in the middle of the night? I would answer the phone and try to take care of their problem. And fortunately for me, I can hang up the phone and be asleep again in about 5 minutes. If somebody awakens me in the middle of the night, it doesn't keep me up all night. I take care of the problem, go right back to sleep. Now, it keeps my wife up. Okay, once she's awake, she'll be up for an hour or so. But she doesn't have to get up and go to work the next day, so it doesn't matter. She'll just have to take a nap the next day when she gets rested. But it's like, I'm willing to serve, I'm eager to serve, I want to do what I can to help. What's the next thing on the list? Well, it's my turn. The leader should exhibit a spirit that people are willing to follow. My spirit, my demeanor, my way of doing things should not compel people to follow me for fear of, if you don't, you'll get fired, but rather it should make people want to follow me. So now Rush talks about the leadership styles. Now this is interesting to me because this is page 219 where he talks about the leadership style, and you can see the dictatorial style is all top management. And the participative team style is down just what it says. Everybody participates. Now, on page 222 in his book, when he talks about the dictatorial style, he says a whole bunch of negative things about it. And when I read page 222, I thought, I don't think he likes the dictatorial style because he's so negative about it. Because everything he says is negative. And then when he talks about the authoritative style on page 223, everything's negative except one positive. Then when he talks about the consultative style on page 224, it's all positive, and the participative style, it's all positive. Go, well, now can you see, that's because he's already given himself away, hasn't he? He's already told you which styles he likes. Now, I have another handout here from page 226 that I'm going to give you in a minute that says when to use the leadership styles, and he talks about when there's a time to use the dictatorial style. But have any of you ever been in an organization where the person in charge was a benevolent dictator? I mean, if you say dictator, that kind of sounds bad, doesn't it? But if you say a benevolent dictator, what's the difference between a dictator and a benevolent dictator?
One doesn't hate you.
What?
One doesn't hate you.
I'm telling you what to do, Daniel, because I have your best interest at heart. I have little children come and live at my house, and they get old enough to go outside and play, and when we go outside, I say, now let's talk about whether or not we should play in the street where cars are zooming by. That's not open for discussion, is it? Do not play in the street. It's dangerous. You could be hurt seriously. And if you go in the street to play, you will forfeit your time to play outside and be in the house for 30 minutes. Isn't that kind of dictatorial? Say, well, no, you could say that's just being authoritative. Well, in other words, I have met what would be called, and some people, probably Rush would call these guys dictatorial leaders. I've met pastors who they run the church, and all the men on their deacon board, whenever they're talking about what to do, they say, well, we better find out what the pastor wants. And they don't do anything without checking with the guy who's in charge, because he built the church, he's in charge of the church, he runs the church. And sometimes the stuff I read says, well, that's all bad. But I met a pastor in a factory town where all the people in his church, pretty much all the people in his church, worked at this factory, where you go to work every day. And have any of you ever worked in a factory? When you walk into work in the morning, does your supervisor ask you how you feel about your job and if you want to go ahead and do it the way you're doing it, or do you want to make some adjustments in the way you do your work? What do you think? At factory work, when you're on an assembly line building cars, everybody's got so many seconds to get his job done, and you get it done and you do it the company way, and I'm here to make sure that that's being done. And they work like that. So do you understand, these people, when they leave work and they go home, they kind of practice that style with their children. And when they find a church, they're comfortable in a church where the pastor takes that approach. But if the pastor's looking out for their best interest, I don't think that's all bad. I mean, yeah, I prefer participatory, but it isn't like this is thus saith the Lord. I mean, if you're looking for a model to follow for leadership, you follow the life of Christ. And there are times when he was pretty straightforward with his disciples about how to do things. He said, yeah, but he was the God of the universe, so he could do that. See, okay, now what that means is that he knew more, he knew all things, and he was all powerful. But if the guy who's leading the group recognizes that he doesn't know everything and he's not all powerful, can you see he can still practice some of that dictatorial kinds of leadership? And maybe you'd say, no, it's more authoritative. But I'm just going to say, I think we need to be careful that we don't sit around and dismiss all the dictatorial leaders in the world as being bad people. That I've met some that are very benevolent people who their only interest is the welfare of the people they minister to. And that's part of why the church loves them, because they're always thinking of the people's interest in all the decisions they make. Now, granted, some people ought to learn to make some of their own decisions and think about things, but if they're not, then they're attracted to a church where the pastor makes all the decisions for them. And it does save a lot of grief. I mean, have you ever seen a church, have you ever lived through an occasion when a church split over something? I've actually seen a church split because the argument started over what color carpeting are we going to put in the new sanctuary. It's like, no, we don't split a church over that. But can you see that if we're not careful, everybody has a say? In this guy's church, nope, it's whatever the pastor says, the color of the carpet, that's what it's going to be. Because he's the pastor, and that just settles it all. And of course, if someone doesn't like that style, then they'll go to another church in town where it's more participative, where it's more consultative, where it's not so much dictatorial or authoritarian. But Rush says a lot of negative things about those others. Just realize that it's not all as bad as you might think. And then the handout on when to use the various styles, just to show you that he's not adverse to someone being dictatorial. This is on page 226 from his book. When to use the various styles. And when does Rush say the dictatorial style is appropriate?
During extreme emergencies and crisis.
An emergency, people's safety,
Or severe
disciplinary action. One time, the students at the high school, when I went to Peoria to help them start a Christian high school up there, to Peoria, Illinois, one of the students said, Mr. Bonine, you're kind of like a dictator. They said, you don't ask us our opinions about the rules. You just come in here and lay rules on us. I said, there you go. And they go, that's not fair. Okay, have any of you heard this? So, life's not fair. Have you heard that anywhere? Life's not fair. Can you learn to cope with life if it's not fair? No, I want it to be fair. Well, you know, you better learn to cope with an unfair world and an unfair life, because that's the way life is. And then I would say, but I'm a benevolent dictator. I didn't ask the students to establish rules for our new high school. I came in and said to the teachers, we need to do things decently in order around here. What does that mean to you in your classroom? How do you want things done in this school? And those will become our rules. And then when they gave them to me, I said, okay, do we all agree? Because see, I like that participating, because it's going to be their rules. And they all agreed. I said, okay, let's take them to the board and see. The board is run by the parents of the children. See if they approve of the rules, and they did. So when the kids came to school, we said, these are the rules. Now, I didn't ask the kids to help us make the rules. So what parent asked their children, so help me decide what to fix for dinner? So do you want vegetables for dinner today? Who would ask a child if he wants vegetables? Do you need vegetables to be a healthy person? So what's going to happen? Did this happen at your house? Your mother picked the vegetable, she cooked it, it came time to eat, you sat at the table and said, I don't think that looks good, I don't like it. And your mother said, well then, Daniel, you don't have to eat it. You can go get some fruit snacks if you want, or some goldfish. Is that what happened?
Slight alteration.
Yeah, slight alteration. What did she say? You eat your vegetables?
Or starve.
Did any of you have parents who said, you can eat them now, or we can put them in the refrigerator and let them get cold and you can eat them later? Have you eaten cold peas? It's disgusting. Better eat them now. It's just, hey, we're looking out for that child's health and well-being. And I told them, I was benevolent, but I will tell you one story. The girls came to me and they said, Mr. Bonar, this doesn't seem to be fair. I said, okay, what's not fair? And they said, the girls have to dress up. They were required to wear dresses to school. And this was back in the 70s, so that's not uncommon back then. But the girls are required to wear dresses, but the guys don't have to dress up, they can wear jeans. They said, that's not fair. I said, you know, if you have to wear church clothes to school, then maybe the boys should be required to wear church clothes to school and have to leave their jeans at home and dress up a little bit when they come to school. Now, did the boys like that? No. I ran it by the faculty, I ran it by the board, and they said, yeah. We said, okay, so be it. The boys have to start wearing the kind of slacks they wear to church. Do you have any idea how it affected student behavior when the students had to dress up a little bit to come to school? Anybody want to guess? Did it improve their behavior or did it diminish their behavior? If they were dressed up when they came to school. Because they didn't horse around when they're wearing their good clothes. They didn't come to school to play, they came to school. And I told them, it's kind of like getting dressed to go to work, and we're helping you get ready when you get out of school to go to work someplace and have a job, and we're just giving you some good practice on getting dressed up for work and wearing your clothes, your work clothes when you come to school to do your work. And your work here is schoolwork. He talks about the authoritative leadership style when it's appropriate. Boy, if you got employees that are misusing authority, you better talk to them. When you got new people who don't know what's going on, when the rules and regulations are being violated, when you're solely responsible for making and carrying out the decisions. Now, see, I see the first three, but when it's my responsibility for making and carrying out decisions, I still believe that I will be more successful at making good decisions and carrying out the decisions within the organization if I have the people participating in the decision-making process and helping me figure out how to do it successfully. And now, see, this is just personal, but when you look at this stuff, you think about it. How does this fit with me and my personality in terms of leadership? When I look at the first three, if I have an employee who consistently misuses authority, or an employee who breaks the rules and regulations, who is constantly violating the expectations, the rules and regulations, guess what I do? Okay, I bring them to their attention that what they're doing is inappropriate. But if they're the person who thinks if he's not watching, I don't have to do the right thing, I'll only do the right thing if he's right there with his eye on me supervising, guess what I do with that employee? Remember I told you we're going to have a chapter on you're fired? Have any of you ever been fired from a job? Everybody should get fired once. It builds character. It does. I've been fired from a job. It builds character. But if I have someone who's not getting, I call it getting with the program, I just fire them. I just say, sorry, you're not fitting in here. I don't have the time to watch you all day long. If you're not going to be responsible to do your job and follow the rules when no one's watching, then we don't want you working here. Then he talks about the consultative style, planning, organizing, problem solving, training people to be leaders. And probably that is my dictatorial pastor, who's very benevolent. When he moves on to another church, can the people in his church pretty much run things while he's gone until they get a new pastor? Not if he's made all the decisions. They're just kind of helpless till a new pastor shows up. So that's probably why Rush, because he's so participative, would say that's why he prefers those styles. Then a participative team style, people become competent in performing their responsibilities. So they're helping us evaluate how successful we are at what we're doing. They're helping us make decisions about how we run things, which means we have highly motivated and highly qualified people that are within the organization. And when you're looking for innovative and creative ideas. Okay, so do you think leadership style has an impact on productivity? So think about how productive we want to be. Oh, that's why up at the Ford Motor Plant that they're very dictatorial, because they're trying to crank out cars that, do you know how long it takes to build a car at the Ford Motor Plant? Okay, here they are at the end of the assembly line. How frequently does a completed car come off of the assembly line? Does anyone know? What if I told you it's every 3 minutes? Then that means it takes 3 minutes to build a car. If every 3 minutes the car's coming off the end of the assembly line, here's a car, 3 minutes later there's another car, 3 minutes later another car, it takes 3 minutes to build a car. You go, how can you do that? That's why it's called an assembly line. Each guy's job can be done in less than 3 minutes. You follow the thinking? So he does his job while the car's coming down, moving slowly. He does his job. In 3 minutes, he's done. He goes to the next one. No job takes more than 3 minutes. So bingo at the end of the day. When you first start the assembly line, there's no cars there, but once you get to the end of the assembly line, they're falling off the end every 3 minutes, car at a time. So can you see when you're being highly productive, you say there's just not a lot of room for everybody sitting around talking about how we can, I mean, there's a suggestion box where you can make suggestions on how things better, but we don't have time to stop and talk about it because you've got work to do you've got a job to do during the 3 minutes that the car's in front of you. Okay, what's my last one here? The team spirit. This is from Rush, page 48. The chapter called Team Spirit, page 48 and 49. So, what's a team? 2 or more people working on the same project. So that makes my wife and me a team. Do you have a roommate here at college? You live in a dorm? You do? Do you have a roommate? So when you and your roommate decide to clean up your room because inspections are coming around, that makes you a team. Now, my wife and I were a team, and then we had a child. Now we become a team of 3. Then we have 2 children, a team of 4. And the team just gets bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on. In order to have a team, 2 or more people must be communicating and working on the same goals. What is our goal as a family? What's your goal as roommates cleaning up your room? To get it clean and make sure it passes inspection. What's our goal as a family? We both stood there and made those vows. Esther knows those vows. Do you guys know those vows? Well, you better think about it before you start hanging around with a girl and thinking you want to spend the rest of your life with her, because you're going to have to stand in front of God and a whole bunch of people and look her in the eye and say, what are they going to have to say, Esther? For better, for worse, for richer or poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And I'm here to tell you guys, girls will fool you. You don't know what they're really like until you marry one of them. Okay, my wife and I met during the time when women wore curlers. I never saw her in curlers till after we got married. You know, what does that do with anything? If she wears them to bed, those things are awful if you bump into them. I don't know why women do that. They're so painful. I'm just telling you, the girls don't tell you everything. So, for better, yes. For worse, yes. For richer, when she's working, yes. For poorer, when she quits working because she's going to have a baby, yes. In health, yes. In sickness, oh man, when girls get sick, they're just a mess. Now, Esther, if I had a room full of girls in here and a couple of guys, or one guy, I would say, it goes the other way, doesn't it? It's a two-way street. Okay, the purpose of a team is to help people accomplish more than they could accomplish working individually. I used to kind of think that I probably could be more productive working on my own. Maybe it's because in school, did you ever have a situation in school where they would pair you up with somebody else and they paired you with a person who wasn't as good at something as you were, which meant you did all the work and the other person got half the credit? Okay, so see, if you have enough of that happen to you, you start to think that I think I could be more productive working on my own. But fortunately for me, when I was building my garage, I had a radical lesson in how this principle is so true. I was putting up the beam that goes across the doorway to the garage, and it was a double car garage door. So it's a big long beam. And I carried it up on a ladder on one side, and I propped it up where it's supposed to rest on this post. Then I went down to the other end, and I picked it up, and I started walking up the ladder to put it on the other post. Any idea what happened? By the time I got it to the top and was trying to wiggle it into the place where it had to go,
The other side fell.
the other end fell down. I go, oh man. So I'd stick that one up there, and I'd go over to the other ladder and pick it up and start up there, and it fell down. And I thought, what in the world? How do people do this? And about that time, my son-in-law pulled in the driveway, and he said, you need some help? And I said, no, I think I can get it. He said, well, it'll always go easier when there's another guy helping you. And he just walked over and volunteered to help me. He gets on one ladder, I get on the other. What happens? We walk the beam up there, slide it in place, and I'm going, oh man, not everything can be done by yourself. And I really think all of us need to think there are occasions when we really need someone helping us get a job done. But if you're the kind of person, if your personality is such, say, no, I don't want any help, I'll do it myself. Just realize that probably that independent spirit can get you in trouble when it comes to organizational success. And just say, no, I need to practice reaching out to others just so I can become part of a team spirit. Okay, well, we finished that one. Week 2. Now we can start week 3. What do we have here? Oh, elements of a good meeting. Yeah. Elements of a good meeting. This is from the book, The Art of Management for Christian Leaders, page 235 and 236. It's also on Canvas under Files, called Elements of a Good Meeting. And what's the first element of a good meeting?
Know the purpose of the meeting.
You know the purpose of the meeting. What's the second thing?
Some goals for the meeting.
You set some goals for the meeting. What's the third thing?
The right participant.
You select the right participants. You go, what are you talking about? Well, let's see. What if Talk and Daniel and Logan and I got together and had a meeting to talk about what we can do to improve the program at the orphanage? Why are you smiling, Daniel? What would you be saying while we're conducting our meeting, talking about how to improve quality of life at the orphanage? I mean, would you be saying things like, shouldn't Esther be here?
Maybe.
Would you say that, Talk? Shouldn't Esther be here? Say, no, we don't need Esther. We can make this decision without her. Wrong participants. Now, it's okay for us to be involved in the meeting, but we better make sure that Esther's a part of that meeting too. Make sure the people involved are going to be present when you have the discussion. Do your homework. That just means that you prepare for the meeting. Well, when I did this thing about snacks in our meeting yesterday, what did I give you to write your suggestions on?
Card.
So what did I need to do what was part of my homework to make sure that I had some cards with me when I came to class to pass out to everybody to make suggestions? Select the right location. Bring adequate communication tools. What did I need to display those suggestions for snacks? A marker and a whiteboard. And one marker wasn't working very well, and somebody suggested there's another one over there. And I thought, the other one kind of dried out too. So I thought, I better put some more markers in my briefcase, so if all of them dry out in the classroom, I've got a fresh set from home that I can pull out and bring. Prepare an agenda and inform everyone as to what is going to happen. Well, I didn't do that because I wanted to surprise you with the outcome. So there are occasions when you won't, but normally you would announce your agenda. Keep the meeting moving. And number 9 is announce what's been accomplished after you finish the meeting. And number 10, announce what action is going to be taken in the future. Okay? So I wonder if we can do all 10 of those things right now. So what? Yeah, with a meeting. Logan's not here. So, Logan, plan an activity. Remember that thing where you're on there supposed to plan an activity? Logan, I've just passed out your activity plan. And let's see if we can conduct a meeting without you here. And I will kind of stand in for you, since you're not here, to carry on the conversation and see if we can do all 10 of these things. What's the purpose of this meeting? What's the purpose of this meeting?
An activity.
Well, actually, he's already done that. Oh, what's the assignment that's on there after plan an activity? Conduct a meeting. So the purpose of this meeting is just to conduct a meeting. I mean, in terms of the class. All right? You follow that? What's the second thing? Set some goals for the meeting. So what would be one of my goals? What would be one of my goals? Or what would be a goal for this meeting? Let's discuss Logan's plan and make suggestions for improvements or alternatives. Some people say, I don't want to assume that I'm improving on somebody, so just give them suggestions for alternatives. What's the third thing? We've got all the staff here at our organization on hand, so we've got the right participants. What's the homework? I had to make copies of Logan's plan of activity so we could all look at it. What's the right location? Right here where we're having our retreat. Number 6, adequate communication tools. I think we have them. We'll see what happens. An agenda, and inform everyone as to what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to read through his plan of activity and talk about what we think about it, and he's going to get to listen to our conversation as if he was here presenting this at his own meeting. Okay? And keep the meeting moving. Okay, announce what's been accomplished and announce the actions. So we've got 3 things left to do after we finish doing this. So what is it Logan plans to do?
Start up a small group Bible study.
And what's his twist on this small group Bible study?
The guys are in one group and the girls are in another.
Yeah? What do you guys think about that?
It's good.
What?
I think it's good.
You think it's a good idea? What do you think, Daniel? Todd? It's okay with you? You want to give reasons why you think it's a good idea?
Because you tend to have better conversations and more in-depth conversations when you're in a group of people.
When the guys are around, they just kind of when the guys are around, Esther, and you start having a deep conversation, some girl mentions something that's very significant spiritually, and what does some guy do? Laughs.
Guys are stupid.
There you go. So you want to have some more in-depth kind of conversations about how this applies to your life? Studying the Bible, you say, hey, girls will get some more in-depth stuff by having a group with the girls and a group with the guys. Any other comments as to why it would be good to separate the girls and the guys for this Bible study group? Okay, now see, my job is to keep the meeting moving. Okay, so let's move on to what he says next. Any night of the week. So what night of the week do you? What night of the week do you suggest we have this Bible study? What's Logan's idea?
To decide what's best for everybody in the group.
Let each group decide what's best for everybody? Or do you think that everybody ought to be meeting on the same night of the week? Isn't there something to be said for all these Bible studies going on at the same time?
True, but not everybody's going to be able to meet for the same night.
Oh, so to accommodate people who can't be there, that way. So then could we say everybody who can meet on this night of the week, and those who can't, we'll form little groups for you, and you can pick a time that works for you to meet? Or do you think it's unnecessary to have them all meet together at the same time?
I don't think it's necessary.
Daniel doesn't think it's necessary. What do you think about that, Logan? Talk, what do you think? You want to try to have a big meeting where everybody's there, and the ones who can't be there plan small groups at another time, or just let each group plan their own time to get together?
Maybe it's the second one.
What?
It's the second one better.
Which one do you think's better?
And plan.
Daniel says let everybody, each group just pick their own time. I say it would be fun to have them all at the same place at the same time, so you could see all this stuff going on.
That's kind of defeating the point of the small group, isn't it?
Oh, it is?
Isn't it kind of supposed to be a small group Bible study, and having them in a big group kind of kills that?
Well, not in a big group, but like at the church, and each of them meets in a separate room.
But still, that's giving a group atmosphere.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
It's a lot different.
I see. Do you see what he's saying, Todd? And he says it's kind of having all these little groups meeting at the church in a different location is still not, it's not the essence of a small group. It kind of defeats the idea of a small group meeting.
Because as soon as they're done with their little meeting, they're going to go hang out with their friends that they know. And they're not going to build those relationships in a
Okay.
small group.
Okay, but I sure like having them all together. But now see, I mean, I just like seeing everybody there at church doing this stuff on Wednesday night. Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to do, like, having, them all do their own separate thing on different days or whatever, different places, and then doing, like, I don't know, like a special event where everybody gets together and they
Once a month or once every 2 months, have some kind of special get together where we talk about what we've been learning and how we're growing spiritually. Okay. Esther's trying to make everybody happy. She's giving me a little bit of what I want, and she agrees with Daniel. Okay. What size group should it be? Logan says 3 to 5 people, max. Which means if you have 5 people, you can't have 6. Have to start a new group. What do you think?
I think it's a good number. Like, most studies show that small group would be defined from 3 to 8 people, but 8 would be kind of on the high end, so you wouldn't want to get up to that much. So I like his numbers, 3 to 5. Get it a lot more personal.
Now, why did you say 3 to 8?
Well, that's just kind of what most people would define.
That would be a
small
standard
group.
definition for a small group? Standard
Right.
definition for a small group.
But it would, if for his goals in this, I'm guessing he's looking at a more personal group. His numbers are good, 3 to 5 really.
So you like his 3 to 5 number?
Yeah.
And you like his 3 to 5 number, Esther? And Doc, do you like his 3 to 5 number?
But like I wonder if there's so many leaders who can lead this small group. So it's gonna be, it might be a problem.
Having enough leaders for that many small groups?
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, Logan, did you hear that? Where are you going to get enough leaders for all these small groups? Now, see, he's not here, so he's going to have to post on a discussion page, "You people talked about my plan, and here's what I think about what you said on that tape." Then you can go look to see what he says about it. Now, I'm just going to say something here regarding this decision. What about leaders? Who needs a leader? If we divide them up into groups of 3 to 5, so let's just say the average group is 4. We got 4 people who are going to get together, and what are they going to do when they get together?
Yeah, you don't need adult leaders all the time.
They're going to do what? They're going to study the Bible? Who needs a leader to study the Bible? I'm just asking.
It's helpful to have a leader to keep them on track, though.
To do what?
To keep everybody on task, because conversations can rabbit trail off and need somebody to bring it back in.
On task. What's the task?
Studying the Bible.
Studying the Bible. Are you telling me that some of these small groups could get together and if there wasn't somebody there to keep them on task, they could spend the whole time doing something other than Bible study?
Yeah.
Logan, did you hear that? So, do we have enough young people in our group? Let's say we're going to have groups of 4, okay? And we have 20 people in our youth group. That means out of these 20 people, we need 5 that we can put in charge, that we can assign them to be the leader for their small group. and we would give them a little checklist of elements of a good Bible study meeting, and it would be keep people on task, stay focused on studying the Bible, write up what kind of comments were made, what kind of conclusions you came to at the end. Are they all studying their own passage, or is Logan going to pick the passage they study each week when they meet?
It says the leader can choose what they're going to do, but
The leader
whether they work on
can
one
choose
book of
how
the
they want to
Bible
do this.
or
Option
that's kind
one,
of the way that they study it.
do one book of the Bible and work your way through it, a chapter each week. Next, or randomly pick chapters that are greatly influential. Each person must read the desired text daily. That would be some of the instructions given to the leaders, wouldn't it? And memorize it. And go around and see how much of this chapter each person can quote or say. What's one of our goals? Accountability. So having them be able to recite it is one of our goals. The last part is gaining a new relationship. Gaining new relationships is another goal, because you'll be assigned to a new group each month. And you must hang out with them outside of church or school. So what do you think? Do you want them to all do the same book and a chapter each week? Do you want to specify the book and the chapter? Daniel says no.
Like, you're wanting them to hang out separately at it. Like, so wouldn't it be better if they each brought different things from different books? They
So
could
you're
talk
saying
about
down here, this last sentence, it's about creating relationships and getting to know people. So Daniel says, because that's what it's all about, we don't want to prescribe.
Well, it's more that, like, I think if you didn't tell them exactly what they should study, but they got to choose that, say, if they, like it said a little bit before, like, they should meet outside the group. When they meet people from other groups, they'd be able to share what they learned from their passage. Instead
Okay.
of just the same things.
Okay.
And, you know, that could be a goal for meeting outside of the groups with other people.
So that's why you don't want to specify the passage.
Yeah.
Let each group choose their own. Esther's shaking her head yes to that.
Because also, like, every group is going to be, different people coming from different experiences, and they're going to need, maybe this group of people are, like, new believers, so they're going to need different, I guess,
Have
Bible
different
than-
kind of questions.
Right, than people who are being Christians for years and years and know a lot more spiritual stuff.
Now, when this came about, people have different questions about the Bible. All of a sudden I thought, hey, wait a minute. We need to buy a bunch of copies of that book, Got Questions? And give one copy to each group leader, and say, here's a book that's published by a Calvary grad who answers questions from the Bible. Which questions do we want to discuss in our group? That way it gives them some place to start.
I think you have to be careful with that because it's a Bible study. We want to keep the focus on the Bible instead of finding all the answers in the this Got Questions book.
So then we could use the Got Questions book to find the passages
And then study it.
that we're going to study that would answer those questions. So the leader would have the book, not everybody else would have it, and we wouldn't just be looking to see what the book says about it. The people would say, the leader would say, what kind of questions do you have? And then they would look them up and find the passages that go along with that question, and then those would be the passages that they would study in their small group. Do you like that idea? Logan, do you like that idea? I see Logan's not here, and I'm just standing here taking his idea and conducting a meeting. It is pretty risky stuff, isn't it? You should see their faces, Logan. I can tell in their faces they're glad they're going to conduct their own meeting. Because see, when you guys conduct your meeting, I just sit in the back and don't say anything. I probably could not say anything. But I sit in the back and let you conduct your meeting. And all of a sudden with this one, since I'm kind of being Logan's stand-in for this, I'm conducting the meeting from my perspective, not necessarily from Logan's perspective. So on his discussion page after he watches this video, we'll have to all go look at it and see what he says about it and interact with him and write responses and replies to what he said. So they're going to pick their, everybody agree? You like Logan's idea that they'll pick their own text instead of us assigning a text? So our suggestion to Logan is let them pick their own, because he had two options here. And then what about the memorization part? Having everybody memorize a verse from that passage?
I think he's doing a lot of requirements in this. Like, I think all his requirements are good on it, but he's making them first come to the meeting. He's getting them to memorize passages out of it. He's making them meet up outside the meeting, and a lot of requirements for these students. It just seems like a lot for them to do, and it seems when there's so much for them to do, it seems like there might be less incentive for them to do it.
They're all so busy
Yeah.
that they won't have time to do all this stuff. What do you think, Esther?
I think it's a lot for them to do, and I think every group and the group leader should decide what should be more encouraged for them to do, because there might be a group that wants to do all of that and does it all well, but I really figure on most of
But
them,
it might be
so-
too much for some groups.
Yeah.
Talk, what do you think? Could you take this to Japan and get some groups started over there? That if you take 5 young people who could be group leaders and give them these requirements and give them a copy of Got Questions, so when they meet together, say, well, what are some of your questions? And they could look the question up and find the verses, and then have everybody open their Bibles up and study them. And then what would they do? They would study that passage. They would memorize the passage, or would they memorize a verse from the passage? Would you have them memorize the whole passage or just a verse from the passage?
Just a verse.
Memorize the verse? Would that be too much to ask, Daniel, to memorize a verse?
Yeah, like they could see like how busy the students are in the group, and see if they can memorize a verse a week or something like that. Because people can memorize if they want to and have incentive.
And would that be too much to ask, to memorize just one little verse?
I don't think so.
So as long as we don't
Choose the
memorize the whole
longest
passage,
verse.
memorize one little verse. Okay. Do we all agree? We want them to memorize at least one little verse a week? Now, how are some young people going to react? Memorize a verse a week? But how hard is it to memorize a verse of Scripture? What's the magic formula for memorizing a verse of Scripture? You write it on a sheet of paper, on a card, index card. You put it in your pocket and you carry it all day long. And you go, what's that card? Oh, that's that verse I'm memorizing. You pull it out and you read it out loud, and you put it back in your pocket. And then after lunch, you pull it out and read it again and put it back in your pocket. And what happens if you do that for 5 days?
Mitosis.
What? Mitosis? Yeah. What is mitosis, Daniel?
Soaks into your body
It
through
just
your pocket.
it just soaks into your body from your pocket, because it goes from your pocket to your brain, to your heart, to your life. I mean, doesn't it? But don't some young people though have the reaction, I don't have time to memorize all this scripture, like it's some big. Now granted, if it's for quizzing in quiz club where you memorize the whole chapter, that gets pretty complicated. But memorizing one verse, everybody can memorize the verse. And then during the week, so here we met with our small group, a question came up, the person who's leading got questions book and found the passage, said here's the passage that we're going to study. So let's study this passage and then we'll meet next week and talk about it. And let's pick one verse from that passage that we're going to memorize. And then during the week, we're going to, what did he say here? Get together outside of church. Can we get together outside of church on social media, or does it have to be face-to-face in person?
You'll benefit more from face to face.
Yes, it would. If we have time for that. But Daniel says that that's just too much to ask of everybody. They might be too busy for all that. So would it be okay for those who don't have the time for face-to-face to do it on social media?
I think it would be fine for them to, like, just ask for prayer requests or stuff like that over social media if they needed to, or if they can do it in person, like they might be at school, they're seeing other people anyhow.
Okay.
But like if you're telling them you have to get together like outside of school, outside of church, and like sit down for coffee or something
In a
like that.
face-to-face meeting.
That seems
Yeah.
like it's a bit too much.
That
for
might be a bit too much.
teenagers.
And for the people who that would be a bit too much, you can make it more doable for them by saying you can get in touch with each other by, well, I said social media, but see, I'm thinking, when I said social media, did all of you think Facebook? Because I'm thinking email and telephone text. I mean, how many ways can you get in touch? How many ways can you hang out with somebody? How many ways can you communicate with somebody outside of face-to-face contact?
A lot.
There's a whole bunch of ways to do that, aren't there? A text message, call them on the phone, Facebook, what else? Skype. That's what?
Snapchat.
Snapchat.
Direct,
What?
video games, video game evangelism.
You guys ever use Skype to call somebody? Is that so cool? When our children lived in Russia, we would call over there. We'd have to stay up because they were on a different time frame. So we'd have to stay up late at night, and we would call over there. And I told people it was like talking to my children, my grandchildren. It's like standing outside the house and talking to them through the window. And every time we did that, we'd talk for about an hour, and then I would say, wow, praise the Lord for Skype. Who thought this up? That we have this kind of contact with our children and grandchildren while they're living in Russia. I mean, it revolutionizes missions. And then you find out some missionaries live where they don't have access to that. But do you use that with some people, talk to get on Skype and talk to friends of yours back in Japan? It's cool, isn't it? Because you not only hear their words or see their words, but you see their expressions and you see what's going on and all the cool stuff going on around them. So now, Daniel, if we say memorizing is only one little verse, and meeting could be doesn't have to be face to face, could be other kinds of getting together, touching base with each other during the week, then would you say that we've made it doable for everyone?
I think on the memorizing part, they need to be careful to make sure it's a group decision and not a leader telling them, because when they move from, it's very likely that they just moved from a wanna, and to see them as like, let's go through this book and memorize these things, and they might see that as childish and not take it as seriously.
Okay.
If they get to choose out the verse from a passage that they're studying, and it's actually a serious decision.
Yeah.
They
But-
respect it a lot more.
See, and that's what, now see, here's what I appreciate about that comment, Daniel, is that as much as I like, this pick a book and same chapter and all that kind of thing, it's like, if they've been in Awana, it's like all he's doing is taking Awana up to the youth group, and it's not, and we like to be doing more adult things. And that's you just made a real good point with me to say, you know what, I hadn't thought about that. Now, Logan might have thought about it, but see, if I'm conducting a meeting, you just said something that I hadn't thought about and convinced me. I mean, I was going to do it your way just because everybody else agreed and you outvoted me. But now, I not only am going to do it your way, I agree with your way of doing it because of the argument you gave about Awana. You brought me around, brother. All right. All right. But you see what happens? See, this is what happens when you conduct a meeting. Okay, so are we finished with Logan's meeting? Have we made enough suggestions? Now, what are we supposed to do here? Did I keep the meeting moving? Did I announce what was accomplished? Okay, what was accomplished?
Stuff.
We made suggestions to his activity.
What?
We made suggestions to his activity.
We made suggestions. We let Logan know that we agree with the 3 to 5 group, don't we? And we agree with needing leaders. We all agree that we need leaders, and that could be one of the youth group people that lead if we give them the resources they need to be the leader and some instructions on how to keep it going. Can't we get 5 out of 20 that would be responsible enough to be leaders in the groups? Think you could get 5 out of your 20 top that could be responsible to be leaders? Because if you have an adult leader for every group, then that takes away from the teenagers being leaders, doesn't it? And then what else? We're not going to designate the scripture. We're going to let them pick their own, and even leave the memory verse thing up to them. What if some group says they don't want to memorize Bible verses? Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against God. Oh, you guys want to make memorizing optional or a requirement? Just one little verse.
I think you could make it a requirement. Obviously, there would be teens that still wouldn't do it in the group, but
And
make
probably
a
wouldn't.
reward or something for them doing
For
it.
the ones, okay, so because memorizing scripture is just so valuable. And just what you said, Daniel, when I talk about putting on a card in my pocket and looking at it every day for a week, 3 or 4 times a day, it's just gonna be absorbed into my life. And some kids think that memory means I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time sitting around trying to memorize this. And so maybe try to make it easy for them. So we all would, so what's announced, what's been accomplished, so we all would agree that it's okay to require them to memorize a little verse of scripture? See, I keep saying a little verse of scripture, or even part of a verse of scripture, a little phrase from scripture. Just something that they're taking the Word of God and hiding it in their heart. Are we okay with each month you're assigned to a different group? Or do you
He
want the
says-
groups to last longer than a month?
He says the point is to create new relationships. So if you're wanting just a bunch of new friendships that aren't as deep in the group, then switching around would be the point of that. But if you're wanting to have like kind of this group of accountability partners or stuff like that that you could work with
Then maybe
throughout the
make-
year, it'd make a lot more sense to
Make
stay in
some
the same
longer
group.
than that.
I think he's getting at, because he says each month you'll be assigned someone else from in the group. I think he's getting at like the groups stay the same, but you're assigned like once a month you go connect with somebody else from a different group and you'll get to know them a little bit more. So it's not like
Okay.
you're going to be ripped out of your group and put in somebody else's group. You're just like trying to
Get them to
see
spend
unity
some
with
time
everybody.
reaching out to other group
Yeah.
members.
So like, you still have that small group that you're gonna like over the year or whatever, like you're gonna form that strong bond with, but you're gonna get more like acquaintance, friendships throughout the other.
If you want a more in-depth kind of friendship, how long would you want to keep the groups together?
As long as possible.
As long as possible? Or you mentioned a year, 6 months, or
As long as possible.
as long as possible, huh? Because you've got friends that you've developed friendships with that they'll be your friends for the rest of your life, and they'll become kind of your accountability partners and prayer partners. And
Yeah, in my experience, like our youth group started out in junior high with those small groups, and then we kept it all the way through high school, and like we didn't really get into like really deep conversations until high school, because it just took that long to get
Okay.
acquainted with everybody and
Yeah.
comfortable with them.
all right, good. Well, what action will be taken? Well, the action that will be taken is that Logan, after he watches this tape, will go to the discussions page, and you know what I think will happen? Here's what will happen. I'll go to the discussion page, and I will create a new page that says discussing Logan's meeting or Logan's activity plan, okay? And then all of you can make comments on it, and Logan can too. Does that sound like that'd be the action thing we do? After he watches the video, he'll go do that. All right. So put that in your pocket, Tom, so you can, write yourself a note. Open a discussion page for Logan's activity. All right, good. Hold that up and put it in my pocket so I don't forget it. Do that when I get home. All right, so now we've got the elements of a good meeting down. Now what are we going to do? Goals. We're going to talk about goals. All right. Goals. Now look what Daniel's eating. He's eating my fruit snacks. And I thought he was kind of making fun of fruit snacks the other day.
No, I would never do that.
And that's peach applesauce. Have you ever had peach applesauce?
I don't know.
Oh. The only place I can find it in town is at Hy-Vee. It's Hy-Vee brand. Wait till you taste it. Wait till you taste that stuff. You'll all want to go to Hy-Vee and get some peach applesauce. Let's watch his reaction when he tastes it.
Tastes like peach applesauce.
Oh, you've had it before?
No, I haven't.
You've had real
that's what-
applesauce.
Yeah, that's
But-
just what it tastes like.
But doesn't peach applesauce just kind of take it up a notch?
Has a different flavor.
So he doesn't think that much of peach applesauce as
Yes.
being something magic.
Not quite.
Well.
But it's good, so.
And those little plastic cups are so you can fill them up with nuts and raisins and cranberries. Did you see those cranberries?
I love cranberries.
Oh, those dried cranberries. I can't believe how good those things are.
They're like candy.
So just get you a little cup and fill it up with stuff and you're in business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I've got a handout here from Dayton and Engstrom called The Awesome Power of Goals. It's from page 64 and 65. And what's the first thing about goals? They should be related to the organization's purpose. So, we don't have a purpose statement yet. But, what is our ultimate purpose? To glorify God and enjoy Him forever. So we can use that purpose for our lives to help us do some goal setting here. What's the second thing that you need to keep in mind when you're setting a goal? Oh, I might as well pass these out so you can look at these. I mean, because, see, just like when we talk about this stuff, we have to do it. If we don't do it, then what's the point of talking about it? We got to practice this stuff. So, what's the second requirement for a goal? So, what's our purpose? On this little handout here, what's our purpose? To glorify God and enjoy Him forever. So, our goal, we plan to accomplish this. What's our goal? We must believe we can do it. So see the top of the page? It's got 4 directions you can go with your goal. You can have worship, witness, nurture, or carry. You can pick any one of those 4. My goal is to witness to 100 people by the end of the week. What's wrong with that goal?
That's a lot.
We must believe we can do it. If you don't believe you can do it, don't make it a goal. What's the third thing? A date when it will be accomplished. That's why I said by the end of the week. So, what's our goal? I'm going to do something in the area of worship, witness, caring, or nurture. And I want it to glorify God. And I want to be doing something that glorifies God. Can you think of something?
Finish the snacks
By
by the end of the week.
Finish the snacks by the end of the week. And how would that glorify God?
And enjoying His provision.
And enjoying His provision. And enjoy Him forever. And enjoying His provision. So, you pick some area. I know what I'll do. I'll pick the caring area. And my goal will be to call my wife when I leave class and call my wife each day when I leave class and ask if she wants a fish sandwich from McDonald's. They're on sale this week, 2 for $5. And she loves fish sandwiches. And I'll do that each day until Friday. Through Friday, each day through Friday. Okay? How will I know it's happened? I'll put down Monday. No. Monday's gone. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I'm going to put down a yes or a no for each one. And then how will I know if I've circled yeses for all 4 days, right? What steps? Call my wife when I get in the car. After class. Who are the people involved? Me and Nina. Cost? $5 times 4. $20 that could cost me. You understand? Do each of you have something on your little chart yet? What is it? It's related to my purpose to glorify God. It's something I believe I can do. It has a date when it will be accomplished. Number 4, it's measurable. Will I be able to determine whether or not I did it at the end of the week? Yes. It's supported by a plan. Yeah, I've got a plan. I'm going to pick up my phone when I get in the car and call her. Number 6, it's claimed by someone. It's claimed by me. Number 7, it must be supported by the necessary resources. Do I have $20? Yes. Well then, there you go. That's all there is to setting goals. So, why don't more people, now I got another thing to put in my pocket here. But this one, I'm going to leave sticking up because if I wait till I get home, it's too late. So this one needs to be sticking out of my pocket. Maybe I better fold it the other way. Yeah. If I see that little box up there, that'll make a lasting impression on me. What's that little box sticking out of my pocket? No, not high enough. Move it up a little higher. There we go. All right. Now I'll remember. Got to make sure I don't forget. So we all understand the goal setting process? And why does Dayton call this the awesome power of goals? Why would he say the awesome power of goals? What's so awesome about a goal?
Because it motivates you to do it.
It motivates us to do it. I mean, once this is written down, it reminds me to do it. It keeps me focused on something that I think is an important thing to do. It'll be the best use of $20 this week I've spent in a long time, won't it? Oh, I won't necessarily spend it because I'm just going to call and say, Nina, would you like to have a fish sandwich from McDonald's? And I don't know, she might say, no, I don't think so. Or she'll say, yes, that would be fine. And then either way, I've asked her, so if she wants it, I stop and get one. So it could cost me as much as $20, but these things are just powerful. Have you learned to use goals in your life to be a powerful influence or force for doing stuff? Did some of you set a goal before the class started? Since this is a 1-week class, a J term, to get all this stuff done before class started? And did you accomplish your goal? And is that a good feeling? And you know what? Since you've already read this stuff, it really makes it easier to talk about it and relate to it, because some of you have already been over this stuff in your reading. And I'm thinking maybe I should tell them this class should always be a J-term class, because it is more realistic, like going off to a planning conference for an organization. And we'll see at the end of the week how you guys feel about it. But this could just be a regular class that every time it's offered, it'll be in a J-term instead of in the regular semester. We'll see what happens. Some guidelines for goal setting on page 65. It says limit goals to major objectives. I don't know, sometimes I just like setting a goal for myself. Like Black Friday. You know what Black Friday is? The day when all the stores sell stuff real cheap with rebates.
Day directly after Thanksgiving,
Right after Thanksgiving.
where we can't stand all the stuff we have, so we just buy more.
So I go look at all the ads, and I'm saying, well, it looks like I'm going to, let's see, where did I go this year? To Kohl's and J.C. Penney's and Macy's and Menards. Is that it? Yeah. Those are the 4 places I went. And what was my goal? To buy all of the best deals and mail in the rebates and get all of the rebates. So that means I bought a toaster for $15 and mailed in a $10 rebate. So I have a $40 toaster. That was on, no, it was $40 toaster on sale for $20 with a $12 rebate. So I paid $8 for a $40 toaster. So then let's see, there was a toaster, there were electric skillets, there was a rice cooker, there was a one of those infrared fryer things, and I bought them all for like 20 cents on the dollar or 10 cents on the dollar. For one crock pot I got free. And my wife says, Tom, we don't need any more crock pots. We've got 2 of them out in the garage. So what did Daniel just say? So you go out and buy a bunch of stuff you don't need. I said, but Nina, remember last year, one of our daughters was over at our house and she said, Dad, my electric skillet quit working. That one that I got last Christmas from you. she goes, do you have any more in the garage? I said, yes, go out there and pick one. And I bought another one, so I keep a supply of crock pots and toasters and electric skillets. The rice cooker and the infrared thing are gone. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, at Christmas at our house, instead of everybody exchanging gifts, where someone might be disappointed with what they get, we wrap a whole bunch of gifts and then play that gift thing where you take away gifts. Do you play that game? Is that White Elephant, where you open a gift and then if somebody else likes your gift, they take it from you and you have to go open another one? And we have a whole bunch of gifts that we wrap, and then people just draw numbers, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and they take turns, and so they open stuff, and then when they're finished, if they don't like what they got, they can go back out into the room where all the presents are and put that one down and open up another one till they find something they like. And just to show you, I got 2 cards from Kohl's in December. I got a $10 certificate for my birthday, and then I got $10 for being a Kohl's customer. So I had $20 to spend at Kohl's before December 31. So I go to Kohl's on December 29, and I'm saying, Nina, the only thing I can find on sale are pillows. $12 pillows for $3 and what was it? $3 each. She said, well, we don't need any pillows. I said, well, maybe some of our children or grandchildren could use a pillow. So I'll just buy, I've got $20 to spend. It's either spend it or lose it. It's a gift from Kohl's. So I'll buy 7 pillows. And I paid $1 for 7 pillows. We wrapped them up in packages. I couldn't believe how many people took a pillow home with them. All 7 pillows got taken at Christmas time. Oh, my wife did put in with each pillow one of these little fuzzy blankets, you know, those ones that really feel cool. Because I got some of those on sale at Black Friday from Kohl's. So, you see, we just buy this stuff. It's like, now, wait a minute. What's your objective? Oh, I do have an objective. To acquire presents to give to my children and grandchildren at Christmas time. So it is related to an objective, but sometimes Nina says, Tom, we already have that stuff. And I said, yeah, but when you can buy a $40 electric skillet for $8, I mean, it could be that we would have somebody at church who had a fire and they lost everything and they wanted to know if people had something to give them. What could I give them? A brand new electric skillet that I picked up on Black Friday sales. Okay. Do you tell I like to go to Black Friday? I look for reasons to go to Black Friday shopping and buy stuff just to give it away. Assign goals to people and hold them accountable. So the goal is to cash in on all the Black Friday stuff. I don't assign that goal to my wife because she doesn't want to do it. So I give that goal to myself because I love doing it. Keep the goal setting process simple and flexible. Take people into account. I wouldn't expect my wife to do this because she doesn't like doing it. Provide guidance in helping individuals set realistic goals. And that means consult your wife, Tom, since you like to go shopping, and say, okay, here's how much it normally costs. Here's what I can buy it for. And then here's something that's not quite as good a deal, but it would be fun to buy it. What do you think? She goes, no, don't buy that. So I give her veto power over the stuff that maybe is only half price. Okay, which is don't set goals in a vacuum. All right, we're done with that one. Let's see. I've got this big old thing here, and I'm not sure why I printed this years ago, but since I did, I just keep giving it out. because what it is, it's a summary of Strategy for Leadership, Dayton and Ekstrom, chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I just went through those chapters one time, and for this class in the past, I don't know what was going on, but I just typed up this summary. So I thought it would be good just to give you a summary of this whole thing. A purpose is something that we ultimately hope to accomplish. It's not necessarily measurable itself, but it's a clear direction toward which we wish to move, to give glory to God, to have a God-honoring church, to be a good Christian. These are all purposes. A goal is an image or a picture of the future. This picture of the future is a statement of faith. A goal is something we believe can be accomplished. A goal can be measured in two ways, by time and by performance. Why are goals so powerful? Now we know why he says they're awesome. What's the first thing goals do that make them so awesome? On that little paper there. Why are goals so powerful? What's the first statement? They give us what? A sense of direction and purpose. What's the second thing that makes them so powerful? Impel us and empower us. They drive us. I will tell you that when Black Friday used to start at 4 o'clock in the morning, to wake up at 3:30 to get there when the door opened was not a pleasant thought. But if I'm going to accomplish my goal of picking up all those bargains, I better be there early. Because, it says, while quantity lasts. And you know what Macy's did? I'll just tell you people, Macy's, no wonder they're getting in trouble. You know what Macy's did? They advertised stuff that they didn't have on the shelf. And I was the third one in the store at Macy's over in Lee Summit, and I went right back there to pick up the items that they had on sale. And I went up to the desk and I said, hey, that item's not on the shelf. She said, it must be gone. I said, are the employees allowed to buy this stuff before we come in here? She goes, no. I said, well then guess what? I'm the third person in the store. I'm the first one at that shelf. It's not on the shelf. She goes, oh, well, maybe that's when we have to order for you. Well, thank you very much. So they ordered it for me and had it shipped to my house. But what did they tell the next person that came in? Oh, they must be all gone. They didn't even intend to give us rebates on those. And those are $40 items that you're paying about $6 for. And they didn't want to have a bunch of those on sale. So you get there early so you get the bargains. You got to watch these people. I can't believe Macy's would do something like that. My wife would show us shame. She used to work at Macy's and she said they didn't used to operate like that. Okay, what's another thing that makes them powerful? They promote enthusiasm. Why do I get so enthused about Black Friday? Because of all these bargains I'm going to find that all of my family's going to love. And you should have seen them at the Little White Elephant gift exchange on Russian Christmas when all the Karen and Tim's family got together. They were fighting over a rice cooker. And I thought, I should have bought 2 of them. And Nina didn't even want me to buy 1 of them. And one of my grandsons said, what's the big deal about a rice cooker? Can't you just cook rice in a normal pot? And here's what my other grandson said. He said, yes, but rice cookers cook rice perfectly every time. Now, maybe that doesn't ring a bell with anybody in this room, but he grew up in Brazil. You know what they eat in Brazil for lunch? Beans and rice. You know what they eat for dinner in the evening? Rice and beans. They eat rice at every meal. And when rice becomes a staple in your life, you know the difference between perfectly cooked rice, don't you? And the other kind. And a rice cooker just does a fabulous job. And see, and I would say, I don't like rice that much anyway, who cares? But a person who lives with rice, those rice cookers are fantastic. They just do a super job. So anyway, they had a big discussion over how valuable a rice cooker was. Goals help us to evaluate our progress. Wow, look at all this stuff I got over in the corner, Nina. All this stuff I got on Black Friday. All because I checked out the ads and figured out the time frames and went to the stores at the right time. Goals give people a clear understanding of what's expected. I knew what I was going to accomplish on Black Friday. And goals help us reduce needless conflict and duplication of effort. I didn't even go to Walmart or Office Max because they didn't have bargains this time around. I mean, they had some things on sale, but they didn't have the real bargains. The real bargains were Kohl's and Macy's and JCPenney's and Menards. Those were where the real bargains were found. And goals take the emphasis off of activity and place it on output instead of just running around all these stores. In fact, when I was standing in line on Black Friday to go to some of these stores, there were people in line going, "What's on sale in the store? Does anyone have an ad?" And I thought, yeah, but I'm not giving mine up because I got the stuff circled I'm buying, and I'm going in there and saying to the clerk, "Where is this item?" And I show them the picture, and they tell me exactly where to go to get it. And I thought, why would people come in here and just show up for the sale and not come prepared to buy, to even know what they want to buy? They're just going to look around and see what's available. That's a little bit too late. It's one thing to write down or state a goal, it says in the middle of the page. It's quite another to carry it out. Before a goal can become operational and put into effect, it must have some additional characteristics. Oh, we've already looked at those. That's in one of our handouts. Look at the next paragraph after those 9 things that talk about goals. What's your reaction to this statement? The Christian organization must ultimately put the good of the organization over that of the individual. If an individual is unable to perform the task which the organization calls for him to do, the organization must replace that person with someone who is able to do the task. Reactions to that statement? If we hire Daniel, if I hire Daniel to help me do Black Friday shopping, and I find out that he fails to get up early and get there and do the job,
I will.
Not like the case.
I gave him the list of what I wanted. I gave him the stores to go to. I gave him the credit cards. And I said, you need to be there first in line to get this stuff. And he doesn't do it for the sake of my organization, my family unit, and all that I'm trying to acquire for them for White Elephant Exchange. I need to fire Daniel and hire Esther to do my Black Friday shopping.
But will you get up early?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Do you understand what Dayton and Ixter are saying here? If you can't do the task. Now, when we get to the chapter on firing somebody, the first thing to always ask is there another area in this organization where you could be more productive? In other words, do we have another job that we could assign you to? And if we do, then let's try it. So it isn't like let's just automatically go around firing people. But if if every task we gave you, you weren't able to do, and we don't have anything else for you to do we need to create a job for you? Or do we need to let you go for the health of the organization? And in our culture and in our world, we let them go. Now, I don't know if this has changed in Japan, Talk, but years ago, a guy in America was writing a book on organizations, and in America, if you have a factory that builds, let's say, skateboards, and skateboards are popular, so you've grown your factory and you've got 50 people working for you making skateboards. If the market for skateboards collapses and nobody buys skateboards, you just close your company and everybody has to go find a new job. Now, years ago in Japan, if I made skateboards in Japan and had 50 people working for me, and the skateboard market was collapsing, I would feel responsible as the owner of the company for all the 50 people who worked for me to find something else we could make, because those are faithful employees, they're part of my family, and I need to watch out for them, so I need to figure out something new we can make that keeps all 50 people working. Is that still true in Japan? Is there still that mindset in corporate Japan to where, or have they picked up some of the American mentality that if the market's not there, we lay people off?
Maybe didn't be like that.
But years ago, 20 years ago, if the company's market collapsed, the guy who owned the company felt responsible to find a new product that he could manufacture and sell to keep all of his employees working, because his employees were like members of his family. So when you hear this statement, I mean, I agree with the statement that if you can't do the job that we've given you to do, then we're going to have to replace you with somebody else. But I appreciate the Japanese culture in the sense that they have said, we need to take care of our employees. We need to find something. After all, they work for us and they helped us make all this money selling skateboards. We need to find something else that we can keep them working so they can support their families. There seems to be, we probably need a balance between East and West in terms of business practices that say we become a little more concerned about the employee, because in America, the secular approach is that you can buy a robot to build the stuff in your factory, but the robot can be very expensive. You can hire people a lot cheaper than robots and use them up, and when they're worn out, set them aside and hire another person. In other words, people in factories in early America were treated like consumables. And in Eastern culture, they would never treat the employee just like a robot, you know, like a cog that just produces stuff. They're a member of the family. In fact, when Toyota first, you know how Toyota overcame the objection to when people said buy an American-made car? Anyone know what Toyota did when people said buy an American-made car? They came to America and built a factory to build Toyotas in America, so Toyotas became American-made cars. But when they first came over here and built their factory, they built it in Alabama or Georgia, down in that part of the country, because of the climate. They don't have to mess with the cold weather from up north around Detroit, so they built down there in the south. So who's going to work at this factory? They're going to hire a bunch of people from Alabama to work in the factory, but they're going to run the factory like they do in Japan. So in order to help the Americans they hire learn how they build Toyotas, they offered jobs in America to a whole bunch. Can you imagine living in Japan working for Toyota, and Toyota says, you want to transfer to Alabama and build Toyotas in America? And the guy says, yeah, I'll go. So he picks up and comes here. So now watch this. They open a factory in Alabama, and all the Japanese employees come to work in the morning and going, oh, Toyota, Toyota. And they do the exercises and all the cheerleading stuff, because it's like they're part of the Toyota team. And these guys from Alabama that have been hired to work, they go, what? What? Yeah, Toyota, Toyota. That's what we do. And it's just like, you people are nuts. No, we're part of the Toyota family. It's like, hey, I need a job. They pay me so much money an hour. I come over here and put wheels on these little trucks or cars, whatever they are. I don't care what it is. It's just like, no. They said, you have to become, you're now part of our family. And the American mindset just couldn't adapt to that. Now, some people did. And it started to catch on in America that there is something to be said for that. Because, does that help you understand why Toyota has such quality control? Because when that car comes off the end of the line, the guy working at his station, he's not just putting wheels on a car, he's building a Toyota that someone's going to drive for 250,000 miles. So he takes pride in his work. He becomes more conscientious about what he's doing, and actually that mindset coming to America when Toyota came over here to start building factories, it got to the place to where now, where do they build Toyota trucks? In Texas. They built a factory in Texas because that's where this big Toyota truck comes from. Texas. And they do the same thing. They bring people from Japan who already have, I'm going to call it the Japanese work ethic. And it's like, well, what's the difference between the Japanese work ethic and the Protestant work ethic? I don't think there is a lot of difference. I think us doing our work as unto the Lord is the Japanese doing their work for the sake of what? Reputation and being the person that you're supposed to be. It's the same kind of drive. Whereas in America, from a secular standpoint, it's just, nope, we just hire people to do a job, we pay them, and then when they get injured or something, we let them go. And by the way, that's why a lot of companies like to hire illegal aliens. If the guy is working here illegally, and you take advantage of him at work, is he going to complain to the government? No, because he'll get deported. So the guy who's raising chickens in Arkansas, or butchering beef in Nebraska, or pigs in Iowa, he can take advantage. Now, not all of them do, but he can take advantage of an illegal immigrant. He can have them work longer hours and pay them for less. And if they don't like it, say, well, complain to the local authorities. I mean, what are you going to do about it? I mean, it's sad, but that's why illegal aliens are so popular with a lot of people in America, because there's no accountability for the way you treat them. Now, not everybody does that, because there are some, immigrant employees. Okay, California, I guess you know this, don't you? California and Colorado and Texas, the produce that they raise, that we eat in the store, almost all of that is harvested by immigrants. But they're not illegal immigrants. They have come here legally to do the farming, and then once the farming's done, they go back home to Mexico and live with their families, but they come here and work on what's called a work permit. So there are legal ways to do it. And there's lots of businessmen who do it legally, but there's plenty of businessmen who would be more than happy to bring people here illegally and take advantage of them. And that's too bad, but that's just, so just understand that sometimes Christian organizations need to be careful that we're practicing Christian principles. We do have to maintain quality in the organization, but we also have to practice Christian principles about caring for people when we deal with them. Okay, the rest of this stuff, the only thing we haven't talked about yet is at the bottom of the page. Long-range planning is usually limited from 3 to 10 years. Make a new 3 to 5 year plan every year. And then, do I have on your handout? No. 7 basic steps to solving problems from page 96 in their book. I don't know why I put that on mine and I didn't put it on yours. Oh, because there wasn't room for it, that's why. That's what it is. Do you have any basic steps for problem solving? What's the first thing you do when you're trying to solve a problem?
Figure out what the problem is.
Identify what the problem is. The problem is that we're going to be here for 5 hours and we're going to get hungry. So, how do you know that? Compare the problem to past experience. Sitting in one place for 5 hours, I know I'm going to get hungry. Develop a plan. So, is there some way we could get something in here to eat that would make this 5 hours pass easier? And what was the answer to that plan? We all bring some snacks to class. Gather resources, we did that. Carry out the plan. Obviously the tables are full of snacks back there. Sorry Logan, you can't see all the goodies we're eating here, but it's just for the people who are here. And then work the plan. And if it doesn't work, and by the way, after we solved our problem, Daniel, during the break, goes someplace and gets a bag of, what was that, trail mix? And I thought, that stuff looks good. And he's given some to Tack and he's given some to Esther, and I'm thinking, and you're bringing fruit snacks when he's got this popular thing called trail mix? So when I went to Walmart to get some fruit snacks to bring, I thought, go check out that trail mix. And I went over there and looked at that trail mix, and what did I find? What's sitting on the table over there?
Cranberries and raisins and nuts.
I ended up not getting trail mix because I got cranberries, raisins, and what?
And
A
nuts?
big old can of mixed nuts. Man. Oh, I still got fruit snacks. But all of a sudden, solving my problem ended up going, let's raise the bar a little bit here. Thanks to Daniel bringing trail mix to class. Isn't that nice now that I showed up with all that healthy stuff instead of just fruit snacks? By the way, have you looked at the package? Daniel's had, what, 3 of those fruit snacks now? Have you looked at the package to see what the ingredients of that stuff is, Daniel?
I don't want to.
Okay, all right. Let's see, what are we going to do next? Oh, boy. It's disgusting, Esther.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's disgusting. Okay. Now, this gets a little technical. And I'm going to give it to you just so you have it for a reference. This is from Gangel's book, Feeding and Leading, page 92 and page 93. It has to do with this management by objective stuff. MBO, you'll read about it. And basically, he gives 10 steps to management by objectives. First, you define your objective, your purpose or your mission. Then you assess the church's strengths and weaknesses. Now that second one, I'm going to circle that one. I really believe that that's the one thing I picked up from him that I started using it years ago, and to do a strength and weakness assessment. What are our strengths and what are our weaknesses? And then write objectives for each ministry area in the organization based on your strengths and weaknesses. And of course, the strengths are things we want to keep doing, because sometimes, can this happen? We can be doing something well, but we can notice something we're not doing, so we end up giving all of our energies to doing the thing that we haven't been doing, and then the thing that we were doing well kind of gets lost. So you want to make sure you keep doing the things that you're doing well, and then say, okay, so how does this tie into our objective? And then the things that it's a weakness, we need to work on this. Let's write some objectives to address those issues as well. And then number 4, work to obtain a general agreement. That just means you talk this stuff over. Okay, we just took Logan's activity and talked through it. In fact, we just did some of what Gangle talks about. Work to obtain general agreement. Okay, when we start talking about it, let's see, where did we reach general agreement? 3 to 5 in a group, we all agreed that that was pretty workable. Having them memorize a Bible verse and meet outside of the group meeting, Daniel said that's too much. We need to let some of that go. So we talked about it, and I wanted in my head that we picked the scripture we study, and Daniel points out that that's too much like Awana. We want to treat them like young adults. It's like, yeah, so you see what happens? Some books call it massaging the decision-making process, where we go back and forth. But it's really just discussing it and listening to each other and learning from each other. And often what happens, it becomes an argument over whether we do it your way or my way. And many times people who are very adamant are both saying the same thing, just saying it in a different way. So somebody has to step up in the group and say, no, you're saying the same thing. I mean, the end result is we're going to do the same thing. Let's not get so worked up about it. So that's why I think it's called working to obtain agreement. People get so worked up about their differences that they don't work at trying to develop a consensus where we come to the conclusion that we all agree that this would be a good idea. And arriving at consensus is hard work. It takes time and energy to do that. And what makes it hard work is you have to get people who are strongly opinionated to listen to people who have a different opinion. We have to work at listening to each other and being open to what they have to say, and we have to work at being willing to change the way we thought about it too. I'm not giving in. There'll be no compromise on my part. It's like, we're not discussing the 10 Commandments here. We're discussing small group Bible studies and how to go about orchestrating them. And number 5, strive to attain job control as quickly as possible. Who's in charge of taking care of this to make sure it happens? And figure out how to use available resources. And practice accountability. And number 8, design long and short range plans to meet the objectives. And number 9, I'm going to circle number 9 too. Be willing to change or modify your plans, your objectives, your strategies. Be willing to make some changes. And then number 10, better circle that one too. Measure progress along the way. Ask yourself if the objective was, I put that in my pocket, but if the objective was to strengthen relationships between people for these small group Bible studies, then we need to down the road say, have we strengthened relationships between the people in our youth group through doing this? Is it accomplishing what we hoped would be accomplished when we started doing it? Okay, that's enough of that one. Now, what's the next one I have here? This is from Feeding and Leading, chapter 6. This has to do with planning. Foundations for effective planning. Taking time to plan things is not an expenditure. It's an investment. Our grandson comes down and says, "Poppy, are you coming to my basketball game?" No, he says, "Are you coming to my soccer game?" And I say, "When is it?" And he tells me. And I said, "Where is it?" And he says, "In Topeka, Kansas." And I said, "Topeka's a pretty big place. Where in Topeka?" And he says, "I don't know." So now, I told him I could come to his ball game on Saturday. His soccer game, I know it's in Topeka. What do I need to do? Need to find out where it is, right? I need to find out the time of the game, and I need to figure out how to get there. So what do? I have a problem here. All he knows is he has a soccer game in Topeka. Oh, he knows the school he's playing against. What's the name of that school again, Evan? And he tells me. So now I've got the name of the school. Any suggestions on what I should do? I'm planning on Saturday to go watch my grandson play soccer. Well, I'll just get in the car and drive to Topeka and see if I can see some kids out someplace playing soccer and see if they happen to be my grandson. That is not a good plan, people. Any suggestions on what I should do? I mean, this happens so often to me with my grandkids playing sports and my commitment to go watch them play sports. I just have a standard operating procedure I follow now. He told me the name of the school was Care Paravel.
Interesting.
So I go to the internet, and what do I Google? Care Paravel, Topeka, Kansas. And voila, guess what pops up on the screen? Sure enough, there's a school in Kansas called Care Paravel in Topeka. And what do I click on? Athletic department. And what do I click on? Soccer schedule. And what do I notice? That they have a game scheduled against Blue Ridge Christian School on such and such a day at such and such a time. And so what do I look for next? Obviously you people haven't done this very much. What do I look for next? The map that shows how you get to their soccer field. They don't have one. You know why they don't have one on their website? Because everybody knows where their soccer field is. I don't know. Well, who are you? I'm a grandfather of the opposing school. Well, that's not our problem. You understand? A lot of people don't put it there. So what do you do when they don't give you a map to their soccer field on their website?
Google Maps.
What?
Google Maps.
Google Map their school, and so it tells me how to get to their school. What if their soccer field isn't at their school? Which quite frequently happens.
Should give you an address at least, right?
And the phone number. So I pick up my telephone and I call the school and I say, I understand that tomorrow on Saturday there's a soccer game, that your school has a soccer game against Blue Ridge Christian School? Yes, we do. I said, can you tell me where the soccer field is for your school? Oh, yes, I can. And she gives me directions to the soccer field from her school. So now I MapQuest her school and I go there and follow the directions to the soccer field. Or if she gives me the address of the soccer field, I MapQuest the soccer field and it tells me how to get there. Or do you just use your phone and type in the address and then follow your phone directions down the road? I don't like doing that. I prefer to have printed MapQuest instructions in front of me. Can you guys tell I'm a little old-fashioned? You know what else? I also prefer a map. I like to have maps. Did you know you can't buy maps at Walmart anymore? What is that all about? Nobody uses maps anymore. What?
You have a map on your phone. You can just use that.
No, I don't want to use my phone. I like doing it the old way. Okay, so planning. Okay, now, did all this planning take time? Yes, it did. Was it an expenditure? No, it was an investment. Because I get in the car, I got my MapQuest printout in hand, I drive to Topeka, I drive right to the soccer field, and I'm sitting there and my phone rings and my daughter says, Dad, where are you? I said, I'm at the soccer game. She goes, well, I'm at the school and there's nobody here. I said, because the soccer game is at a field that's not the same as the school. Let me tell you how to get here. And I tell her how to get there. It's like, what an investment I made in collecting this information in advance. And that's what planning is all about, is expending time to save yourself time down the road. What's the second thing it says? Planning requires careful attention to choices. So what's my choice? I can drive to the school and see what happens, or I can call the school and ask them where the soccer field is. Better call the school. In fact, one of my grandsons was wrestling last Saturday up in Excelsior Springs, and his school schedule said that wrestling started at 9 o'clock in the morning. But the high school at Excelsior Springs had the wrestling started at 9:30. So I called the school and said, does wrestling start at 9 or 9:30? And they said 9:30. So I saved myself 30 minutes while other people just followed the schedule that they were given and said, I just thought I could trust the schedule. No, I find out that I don't pretty much trust schedules anymore. All right, that's enough about planning. It's time to take a break, isn't it? So take about a 5 or 10 minute break and we'll come back in a little bit and do some more of this.